Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to Bit of an Animal, the South African Rugby Union podcast here on the Global Gainlines podcast network. On this special Commonwealth Games panel, he got the gold with the field hockey team, Stemminkosi.
Molweni, how's everyone?
She
John's name
achieved
is
the
just going
silver
crazy.
with the 100-meter dash. It's Christy.
Hi.
And he got sentenced and convicted for sports betting on his own team. It's John.
Don't don't do that.
Try not to. Welcome back, guys. So on the first item on the panel, my Sharks under 21 team on Tuesday night in front of just about nobody, just less than 15,000 people in the stadium. Everybody I know from KZN said we didn't go because it was a school night and the weather and it's never cold here. It's all these excuses. And it's weird because the pricing was a bit more reasonable than Cape Town Stadium, where they got 47,000 people in the stadium, 47,130. So very impressive. Unsurprisingly, the Sharks lost. It's super disappointing to get a zero. But if we look across like the age of the team, I was under the impression that Zekatelo CIO was 20, but he's actually 18. In between this game and last game, he actually turned 19. So happy birthday to him. Um, but yeah, New Zealand looked pretty solid. It was great seeing Jody Barrett actually start at inside center. Um, I figured Vusi Moyo would struggle in those types of conditions. It is, and I think Bryce made this excellent point on the group WhatsApp chat, where I've been feeling this for years, especially during Super Rugby time, whereas the Sharks, we see it less in URC, but because I guess the time the games are played, but the Sharks play in Durban and they train in Durban. But somehow when the New Zealand teams, when the Hurricanes or the Chiefs, when the Highlanders, etc., showed up, they somehow adapted to the conditions and adapted their game plan way better. And generally, it's the humidity, but this time it wasn't that humid. It was just incredibly. It was kind of like monsoon weather without the heat. So. When we did the preview show, we said a super young backline and they might struggle. There was some age on the bench with Manonu coming on. And weirdly, I heard somebody say earlier in the week at the office, like, I wonder if Manonu is going to do like an individual haka. And I just thought nothing of it. And he actually did, which obviously garnered a ton of sort of eyes on social media. I know that Super Sports YouTube got what 30,000 views over 3 hours just for that alone. So that was interesting. So Manonu at 44, Ivan van Zyl at sort of 31. That skews the age a bit more towards them. And it was a sort of a mixed bag. I still super frustrated that although I like all of our starting loose forwards, for me they all do the same thing. And then we've got Matromeo on the bench, who's very similar but maybe slightly bigger, but very young guy as well. So shout out to him. There were some disruptions to the team, like Corneral coming in for Vincent Chituka, and we'll go through the list of players that weren't available. But yeah, I'll pass it over to Peter Lakai's brother-in-law, Demi Kosi, with the stylish turtleneck.
Yeah, that was it. Um, yeah, the game, I guess it went as we all expected, like you said. We thought maybe they would have at least gotten a few points, but they didn't. But it was nice to see Nani do the haka. I would have liked maybe they could have taught the Sharks, I don't know, basics. You didn't need to do the entire haka, but you could do like 2, 3 steps every 5 moves. They could have done something. It looked weird with just them just standing there. It's like, guys, you've seen the haka. Do something. Like do one move there, stop, wait for Nani to do something else. Then But anyway, uh, going back to the game, I think New Zealand would be proud. Jody was playing fantastic. It was a good game for him. Him and Fihai, Ruben. I think the most person I would say got probably had the best game, or maybe raised these chances of getting a start or maybe even getting a bench is Carl Preston. He played a good game there. Even the Bulls game was also he also played a good game there. So I think he raised his stocks a little bit. I also want to say Fihai also raised his stocks a little bit, but I doubt that with Josh Modi and Will Jordan, I don't see him getting any chance in the back line. But he played a really good game. Otherwise, was typical New Zealand. They stretched the Sharks. The Sharks couldn't adapt in time.
Yeah. So yeah, Donovan Dunn made his debut for the Sharks, having signed from Poland. Not the best of debuts, but not exactly the best environment to have a debut. I will say to Liam van Wyk and Rambo Kobeka and Sipiwe and Gobese's credit, they did win one scrum penalty off the New Zealanders when they came on. They struggled somewhat in the scrums after that. My concern was them being overrun in the scrums, but then what actually then transpired was that they seemed to be out of place often in defense. And that was a bit of a concern, but we'll obviously blue chip young players. And if we look across the team, CI at 18, Donovan Don recently signed at 24. Lorenzo Julius, I prefer him at inside center. Mari Costa, the oldest backline player at 26, having returned from Japan. Lily Besta had a pretty decent game. Vusumoyo tried hard. We'll at least give him credit for that. And I think we're going to see him. I mean, he'll go directly now back into the box team. What was also interesting is that the New Zealand pundits were kind of upset that the Springboks didn't send a few more senior players to the Sharks to make it a bit more competitive because they felt it was the articles that I read. But then again, you have to, and then even today when I was listening to Cape Talk, they were saying, back in the day, and when there was a tour, the players would play for their provincial teams. The high level players, the first choice Springboks would play for their provincial teams against the touring team, and then again for the Springboks, and that doesn't quite work out in terms of sports science these days. Players to note that were missing from the Sharks team that are not with the Springboks that could well have been selected for this game, more senior players that is, would be Jaden Hendricks, Jordan Hendricks, Ethan Best, another baby Bok, a guy who has been in the Springbok alignment camps, Bogi Banambi, Vincent Chituka, late withdrawal, Faison Bata, Makazola Mapimpi, Emil van Heerden, another late withdrawal. Cam Dawson recently signed from the Cheetahs, and Jacob Williams. Obviously, Oxen shares with the Boks along with a few other players. Um, Interesting. I think this benefited the New Zealanders way more than the Sharks. And then JP Peterson in the post match press conference was basically saying what I thought he was going to say of like, look, my hand was forced because of all these senior players missing, and I decided to just like reward the young guys for an opportunity. But what's interesting is that New Zealand didn't have that long to rest on their laurels. They named the team immediately the next day, and then the Saturday they took on Jean's Bulls in Pretoria, 30,000 people making the trip on a Saturday this time. Jean, interesting back and forth. Nice to see Cohen Bosch, huh?
Yeah, very interesting test match. A lot to unpack. Cohen Bosch very excited at what he showed. Got stuck in the tackles, put his head in a couple of dark places, trying to get a couple of turnovers. He also looked good on attack, wasn't hesitant to spread the ball. Um, Little bit worried about the scrum. We didn't get that much scrum dominance, so I don't know if it's that we didn't paint the correct picture. I know the scrum guys will always speak of painting the correct picture. Um, and you can certainly see, I don't think Wilco Low would have played anyway. But scrum might be targeted. Um, yeah, I don't know. It was a difficult game. It's a weird game for me to summarize because there were moments where I felt the Bulls were really in it and they were asking questions and they were punching back. And then there were moments where I was like, why do you hand them tries for no effort? Like the dumbest thing I think I've ever seen a double World Cup winner do is a short kick over the top inside the 22 when Bowden Barrett's in the backfield. Like that has to take the cake. It has to take the cake because what did you think was gonna happen, right? Um, and then yeah, I think in general in these matches, between the URC sides and the All Blacks. I've been a little disappointed, if I can say that, regarding the officiating. Not any egregious calls, but I think the Bulls could have counted on two or three additional turnovers by my count, that weren't called, and then the players get cleared out. Because it's a clear turnover. They've got hands on the ball. The first player who tried to clear them out didn't succeed, but then you allow a second or a third player to come and attempt it. So, yeah, it's a difficult match, but I never was in the position where I thought to myself the Bulls are going to win this. I would have been, if we would lost by 10, I would have been ecstatic. You would have heard me in Cape Town. Christy would have heard me in London. Um, but yeah, I think it was a good match overall, and it certainly speaks to the Bulls that we could ask that many questions of the All Blacks on attack. Still some questions regarding our defense, especially out wide, maybe a little less than the end of last season. The guys really seemed like high work rate, getting up off the floor fast. So they look well drilled. And then I have to give a shout out to this guy because I don't know how he does it, but he was amazing the whole time he was on the field. John Ray Rudolph was ecstatic. Like if Rassie was ever to gift someone a cap in the Springbok team, it has to be John Ray Rudolph. Just gift him a cap. En sê like kom Choma, dankie. Jy speel goed vir die bulle. Hier is jou Springbok truitjie. Daar's hy een toets. Okay. Terug bulle toe met jou. Just one. Just one because the man's been playing. Like he's been playing and for a while now.
Yeah, it's been an incredible threat at the breakdown. Bit more of a balanced team from the Bulls. More senior players in the team. I will say, Jean Els, former Baby Bok himself, about 3 years ago, he's developed quite nicely. He's sort of you can see his progression. If JF van Heerden also Baby Bok not too long ago, he got way more game time under him and Keegan Johannes got way more game time under Jake White and Jake White's last season than previous. So we'll see how things pan out for them further. This very few of these players actually played any Currie Cup, so they were mostly with Johan Grobelaar, Johan Ackerman in the focus on pre-season for URC and EPCR. So we'll see a lot of them later. And then on the bench, they had impact. They got Johan Grobelaar and Elrich Low from the Springbok camp. This is sort of beneficial because the Springbok camp is in Joburg, so we might even see some players from the Lions Springbok broader camp run out against in that midweek fixture, run out against New Zealand because they're easily more accessible. I will say Katlego Letebele. I've seen him play once or twice for the Bulls before, but he had a fantastic game off the bench. Hakim Kunene, he didn't have a lot of time to play, but he sort of sprinted towards the line and nearly sort of crossed it. Steve Sitole, I thought he was I didn't realize he was at the Bulls, sort of a journeyman himself. And Cohen Bosch, I thought this is what he looked like. He looked like he bulked up a little, but he maybe he lost a little speed, but he was attacking the line quite well. But Cohenbush always had a heckload of speed, but maybe he wasn't always in the right positions and as physical enough. You might have needed him to be in defense. So and then Servito Jacobs, fantastic the guy for such a rotund person. Now does he have the acceleration of the Millennium Falcon? Stedman Gans didn't have the best of games. I mean, Stedman Gans was on fire towards the end of the URC season. Takir Abrams making his debut for the Bulls alongside Cohen Bosch. Emrys Papier looked like a guy who's been with the Springbok camp as well. So he looked pretty sharp. Temi Kosi, mixed bag. For the All Blacks, they reshuffled the pack again. Jacob impressed me on this tour. Josh Morby moved to wing. Tawa Nara. You can tell me how many towers they are in there. And then Carl Preston on the bench.
Yeah, I think especially like Ricky Ioane, Leonard Brown, they had a good game. They had a fantastic game. You are wondering if one of them raised their hand enough to start, but I still think it's probably going to be Jody and Quinto Pie. But hey, they had a good game. But my player of the match, or actually, I'm gonna name three: Peter Lakai, Anton Signa, and Parker. Those three were amazing. Those were the reason. They were the reason the Bulls were always isolated. They always turned over the ball. Like they made sure they baited the Bulls to go like take the pick and drive. Once you go for it, we're just gonna stop you and take away the ball from you. I think that was like one of the fundamentals that actually helped them win the game. It's gonna be interesting to see how they end up on the squad. Are they going to play since Adi's going to be back? What position? Who moves where? Satiti is also still in the picture. Who? It's going to be interesting to see. I'm kind of waiting to see what's going to be the first squad. Actually, from like both sides, the first match for me is going to be a very interesting one, and probably who wins that one is going to probably win the whole tournament because I don't see whoever wins the
I'll
first
disagree.
one trying to lose. You disagree?
I'll I'll
Yeah,
disagree.
I'm
I
listening.
think the
Okay.
first test match is going to be cards held to the chest. It's not going to be the balls to the wall rugby anyone expects, not even from the All Blacks. At least not the first 40 minutes. It's going to be very much feeling each other out. Everyone's scared to make the first move. It's going to be reminiscent of the 2021 Lions tour, where first
Okay.
test was a whole lot of we'll kick at you and you'll kick at us business. I do have a question for Tembe and Kosi though. Do you think that the push down tackle, which we saw the All Blacks use against the Bulls extensively, especially you mentioned it now, the loose trio, they used the push down tackle where you sort of let the guy get past the first tackler and you're standing off to the side and you push them off balance to hit the ground and then you go for the turnover. You think that the All Blacks will be looking at doing that against the box in terms of it's the Bulls are known for forward-based gameplay. Boks are known for forward-based gameplay. You think they'll target that for turnovers?
I think they should. I can see if Etzebeth is going to play, I can see him picking up a ball and trying to go for it. So it would not be a back tactic to employ it. I would be the one thing I would want to ask is that do you think it's gonna? Because now I'm just thinking when in the game, right? Do you think the Bucks are gonna play that way? Because I know how the Bucks are. Like when we come to a serious match where it's like a no nonsense type of game, we revert to basics where don't do too much, just do what you need to do right and get over the line. So I'm not
The
sure if
likelihood is that they watch these three games very closely, and they'll probably prepare for every eventuality because now they've got three full games to assess. And yes, New Zealand have sort of given their whole squad a run out, and a bunch of guys got injured, unfortunately, and a bunch of people are flying over. But yeah, look, I suspect they'll adjust as things go along. Christy, we haven't heard from you yet this episode. Um, Three games in New Zealand in South Africa. What are your thoughts on all three and this one in particular?
Well, I think that my biggest takeaway is that I think New Zealand are still the best team to score points in the world off the back of any kind of error. Even when they make a mistake, their backline somehow finds a way to fix problems in a way that other teams don't manage. Um, and I just think that's been my overall view on it because obviously they've been testing our combinations and trying different things. And so that's been my biggest takeaway. In terms of the solo haka that Manonu did, it was quite interesting because I actually read an article about in 2008 when Doug Howlett was at Munster with I think he had three teammates. He and his four teammates did a haka against a touring All Black team. So that was quite an interesting thing to see and how they contrasted the two and how Manonu did a lot of work to discuss with other senior players and the coach and that sort of thing so that he could do that. So that was an interesting part of it. I agree with Jean, and I'd like to also just make comment on Jandre Rudolph, who I think has had, I mean, he was great last season, but he's come out in a way that he means business. So that's been really cool. And then a note on the officiating. I don't know if you saw what Rassie Erasmus said, I think it was today, about how the meetings with the referees have changed. So I think, unfortunately, once again, officiating is going to be a big part of the spotlight over the next couple of weeks. So it's just something to keep an eye on. I didn't think it was particularly biased, um, either way, but it just, yeah, maybe wasn't the best so far across the games that I've watched. So we'll see.
All right.
See what
Well,
happens.
we'll stay with you, Christy. Another Saturday morning women's Springbok game in Fiji, the second in a two-game test. We won it by 5 points. Very good sort of experience going into the next few games in this which you'll be seeing some of them live. Hopefully myself and Lisa B as well in Cape Town. Um uh so like the schedule for the women's Springboks. Your thoughts on the tour itself?
Yeah, so this second game, again, an early wake up, but I think Fiji were way, way better prepared. They came out and they just gave it the best that they could. So they scored first. And everybody just from a handling perspective, I think everybody just needed to settle a little bit because the first 20 minutes was quite something. And then at halftime, it was 10-5 to Fiji, and it really looked like they were going to keep up with that kind of momentum. And then I think the main difference that it came down to was our latest debutante, Springbok woman number 195, Maria Chiremba, who scored a hat trick in the second half. She was incredible. I mean, at one point she was about 5 meters behind a defender, and she just took off. And when she eventually scored the try, she was miles away. So she's incredibly quick, and I think obviously coming from a seven setup, she's used to that kind of work. And I think the first half was a bit of a trial by fire for her getting used to figuring out how union works a little bit better. And but yeah, Fiji was way better than they were last week, and I think that's credit to Willie Walker, their new coach. And you can see how he's worked with the girls just in 1 week. I mean, you look at it, he is a three-time Super Rugby women's winner, so it's obvious that he knows what he's talking about and knows what he's doing. But it was quite surprising to see the the complete shift in momentum with basically no one different. I think they had three or four changes, nothing significant. So it was really, really interesting to watch because at 2 a.m. I don't think my heart rate was pleased. But yeah, it was good to win the game in the end.
So the next games are New Zealand women. We take on New Zealand women at the FNB Stadium. So the people who are going to watch this the Springbok game uh, against New Zealand get to watch that as well. So that's worth the right of admission. And I hope that we're going to fill the FNB Stadium because whenever the Springboks actually played FNB Stadium, it's good to hear. Also, when the Bulls played a Super Rugby final at the FNB Stadium years ago, that was fantastic as well. And so that's on the 5th of September. So the team has quite a long time, quite a decent time to like fly back from Fiji, rest, recover, and then prepare for a very tough challenge against New Zealand women. I believe it will be more the actual first team in the New Zealand women this time, Christy.
Yes, and there is quite a significant group. I think 13 ladies have stayed behind in South Africa, in Stellenbosch,
Mm.
at the conditioning center. So they're still back in South Africa. So there'll be no recovery basics for them. It'll just
Mm.
be the seniors from the Fiji tour coming and slotting straight back in. So interesting.
I
Stellenbosch
wonder
is
if it's a
fantastic for that. Go ahead, John.
I wonder if it's a case of the guys who stayed behind employing similar to the men's team, sitting here doing analysis, and sort of getting in the mindset of playing the opposition in training, because you now have a squad who's pretty well gelled, they're good, they know each other, they can read the calls, read the instincts, who's going to come back, and then you bring them back and say, right, these guys, whether or not they play for now for the first 2 weeks, they're your opposition, and they're going to play the way New Zealand play. And just, you guys get used to the tempo, get used to the attack moves, all of these sorts of little things where they've had 2 weeks to sort of work on fitness and all these little other things. But the main job being just analysis. And I mean, Rassi mentioned it today, um, in saying that that's why he follows other teams, is because you get to see things in training. So one wonders, and correct me if I'm wrong, didn't the New Zealand women have a match against the first 15 women?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah. So so that's fantastic preparation. And then after that, it's Wales versus South Africa. So we're playing away in Cardiff, Cardiff Arms Park in Cardiff, and then so that'll be on the 18th of September. Not a long turnaround there from the 5th to the 18th. Italy woman in Italy, Stadio Omoro Tongonon. And then the two games that we're looking forward to the most, the South Africa, the Global Gainlines sort of derby, whereas Kaylon Scully's Irish woman versus our Springbok woman at Athlone Stadium, not too far from me. So I'll try my best to attend both, but hopefully just attend one. And I hope to see Lisa B there. Lisa B, if you're watching, it'd be fantastic to do some pre-game braai outside in Athlone. Guys,
Yeah, so this stuff
mhm.
is with the WXV, with the tournament, and New Zealand in preparation for the game on the 5th of September will be playing 2 test matches against Australian women.
Oh wow.
And I will be at the game in Cardiff, and I will also be in South Africa over the period that South Africa are playing Ireland. So maybe
You're
I
trying to say I'd see you there as well? Oh, it's
maybe
a
I can
reunion.
be there too. And then,
Yeah.
I'm keen for a braai in the parking lot. So
Fantastic. Athlete's always a yes. So yeah, looking forward to that. We'll shift focus now to the Currie Cup, where many a young player develops, and like Jean-Andre Rudolph, people like dismissing him because of his age, and he was like playing for the Cheetahs, so they were like, oh, he's not gonna like push through, and he's on the cusp of Springbok selection if he keeps up this type of form, because he transferred from the Cheetahs after having a very good Currie Cup season with them to the Bulls, and he kept that momentum going. Very much sort of like a play to the ball, but still starts at 8. So shout out to him, and also like shout out to fellow contributor on the pod who was on the review pod last time, Letha, who plays for the Free State Cheetahs. All right. So the first game of the Currie Cup this weekend was the Friday where Timmy Kusi's Lions put out sort of a mixed team. The Lions going full on like the Bulls, like the Sharks, and like the Stormers, sort of like structuring their team, whereas they have a significant amount of players who are just focusing on URC preseason. But unfortunately, they came up short in Joburg against Borland. And I think the Borland Cavaliers fans are just saying, oh yeah, Mohammed said the other day that we don't win outside of Wellington. And they did it. They went to Joburg and they won. Demikusi, I'm going to bring up the squad now. But yeah, did you get a chance to actually watch your team?
Yeah, I did. It was a very sloppy game from like the Lion side. I don't think Boland were necessarily better. I just think we were sloppy. I remember 2 instances. Like one, I think we kicked. There was a line out in the 20, somewhere in the 22. Right. All we had to do is just catch the ball and try to drive it in. Do you know what happened? We went for the ball. We got the ball. Somehow it wasn't secure. It went out. The ball and hooker took that ball, and from there, after a couple of phases, it led to a try. Right. I'm gonna put that aside. Second thing, they kick the ball to us. We're supposed to receive a restart. Someone messes up the restart, and couple of phases later, it leads to a try. So, but my point is very sloppy. And Poland, whenever they took the chance, they took the opportunity and they took it away. And their forward were kind of strong. They were really winning the breakdown. So yeah, it was a disappointing. It was a disappointing game because at all times you felt like they were there. We can come back. We can score another try, and just Poland just scores another try. Then it was like I think it's like the Bulls game where Bola had to score 2 tries. Then the Lions came back with one. So you're kind of like, okay, we're there, we're there. Then Boland scored another 2 try. You're like, okay, the game is over. Then the Lions come back and they score a try. You're like, okay, they were giving me mixed emotions. That's what I'm trying to say.
Boland's coming for your URC spot.
No, that's exactly what Lisa B wants.
Guys, I
Ardent
think if we're removing a team, the Sharks
Sharks.
are
The
worth the
Sharks will have to go. The Sharks are playing the tournament.
like the Sharks
We
have to
ended
go.
last on the log. So and Lions, you guys do have a more wealthier owner. He just doesn't spend any money. What's wrong with him? But yeah, if we look across the Lions team, it's mostly sort of the development guys. There's a baby buck there in number 6, Tabo Biela.
Yeah.
Shablom's played quite well since he went to the Griquas. Weird from Shablom, Dylan Shablom. He like left the Griquas and then they won the Currie Cup. So poor timing from him. Jonker is a bit more experienced. Raps Makwana, he was on fire the last Super Rugby season. He's sort of fallen out of the limelight of late. Couple of interesting names there that I'm not that familiar with. Oh yeah, Luke Conan, another baby buck, and interesting enough, Renzo Duplessis getting a cap at the Currie Cup level. I thought he would be in the URC squads preparing for to play New Zealand soon enough. But to Boland's credit, the outside center from CPUT, he played quite well. Bit of a mixed thing, former Shark and former Pumalanga Puma. Quanta Di Maza, a guy I sort of remember watching back in the day as well. Um, Stop fourth, that sounds relatively familiar. Interestingly enough, what yeah, yeah. Daryl, of Nigerian descent, Daryl Oswagu, who actually transferred from the Pumas to Boland. Interesting enough, much nicer living in Wellington than in Mbombela, I guess. And then Gordon Masimla, another sort of veteran on the bench. Two veteran scrum halves for Boland in Louis Schroeder and Gordon Masimla. Taylor starting on the bench. Sangweni, another former Shark, and former Mpumalanga Puma. So there's very much a sort of pathway going on there. Yeah, well done, Bola. They're probably going to get the another Currie Cup Premier Division playoff spot. Later that day, there were 3 Currie Cup games on the Friday. Later that day, went from Boland to Sharks. Okay, so the Sharks went to Wellington, Kimberley, and unsurprisingly lost to the Currie Cup champions. They were not Temikosi. They were not wearing their gold insignia shirts from last week that they wore against you guys for some reason. I'm not entirely sure. I think that was like a special edition, that type of thing. So interesting enough, they went with their more settled center pairing in Zane Bester and his partner, I forget now. Dylan Mart off to the Bulls soon, Jean. Gershon, Gershon Weir had a fantastic game. I think he's still upset that the Sharks only gave him 1 game when he was on loan there. Um, Stephen Coetzee recently signed to Griquas from Newcastle Falcons, aka we're not going to mention their actual name now because we're not going to do any free advertising for an energy drink. Leon Lyons had a very good game starting at Lucid Prop. Liam Kuhn, he got a lot of games in the SA Cup for Griquas, having transferred from the Bulls to get more game time. So it seems like with that inside center that they got from the Stormers as well as Liam Kuhn, Griquas is seen as, and their coach has been very honest about this, as seen as a way for extremely promising young players who might sort of be stuck behind a massive depth chart at a URC franchise to come and play a full season in SA Cup and a full season in the Currie Cup Premier Division, and then sort of springboard their career from there. For example, Ich Prinsloo used to be promising tight head prop at the Sharks, but he's chosen to sign with Griquas. On the Shark side, we have to credit Lun Gillemeier, who actually had a really good game against off the bench against New Zealand. He sort of shunned, which is obviously unfortunate because he's also departing for Jean's Bulls. Christy Grobelaar had a solid game. He got skinned for pace by Gershon Magic Weir at certain points. Christy Grobelaar is sort of a larger fellow who people in Stellenbosch are very well acquainted with because he's obviously in the 7 setup. Rasivaga, Baby Bok, he played reasonably well. I'm glad to see Albie Besters over his injury. Tino Vavasere shifted to 6 from 8 from last week. Again, Liam van Wyk, he started. Jaco de Toy, we recently signed, and Lee Marvin Mazibuka has sort of come along a bit more at a guy who can play tight head and loose head prop. On the bench, Rambo Kobeka and his fellow baby buck Mbese as well. Dino Botha we got from the Stormers more recently, or like VP. But yeah, nice to see Mbunambi getting a chance. Sort of a very lanky lock slash loose forward, maybe a blindside flag. No relation to Bonke Mbunambi. The next game on the list, Pumas versus Stormers, and Bryce isn't with us. So anybody on the panel actually watched the Mpumalanga Pumas in Mbombela defeat the Stormers C team?
I wonder why Bryce isn't here. Come
Because they
on,
lost.
team. Can we figure this mystery out?
Didn't want to
No,
comment on this
I
game.
missed that one, but
But
I
everyone's
was
like,
very happy. I
uh,
was very happy for the Pumas.
yeah. Oh, Bryce. Yeah, look, very developmental team. Nice to see Marcus Muller started at outside center. A lot of these players actually did get an opportunity off the bench against the New Zealand at Cape Town Stadium. Nice to see Vernon Paulo recently also transferred from the Cheetahs. But yeah, I'm sure Bryce is very busy with his website and stuff. And the fact that they lost to the Pumas can't be the reason. I at least hope not. All right, we shift focus to Jean's Bulls versus Letha's Cheetahs. Jean, defense is optional.
Yeah, look, if you're going to the Vrystaat for a gunfight, don't pack a vest, pack more bullets. Um, I think, and I say this with the greatest love ever. Um, I think Johan Ackerman still very much has that attack mindset that he had at the Lions. Of will drown you in tries, like 100% will. He's got that mindset. You could see it in this game. I watched about 55% of the game. Um, and then you could see it like it's all about attack, attack, attack. And I'm actually pretty happy for them because it's the first time I feel like the Currie Cup team has clicked. Their scores have been pretty bad the previous few matches. And it's actually quite nice. I get to point out to my pastor that um, Lions lost at home. He went to he saw preached at another church Sunday. He didn't want to look at me. Um, but we'll see between the Lions and the Bulls who has the better game against the All Blacks. But yeah, very happy for the attack to be developing. Um, I think defense maybe by the fourth week of the URC will be like tackling necessary. Start working on that. But very happy. One thing I will say, I'm glad Hilumi is coming to us because our depth at 15 is woeful. And he's going to have to step up quite a bit. I know we've got a two-time World Cup winner there, but you can't play him match in, match out. He's going to get worn out and broken. Um, and we don't really have anyone else. I wouldn't necessarily stick Bosch or Pollard at 15. I feel that defeats their strengths, different as they are. So yeah. But then yeah, just to echo some sentiments, um, Mbene- Mbelele had a flippin' lekker game. I love it when he does interviews because everything is flippin' lekker. Um, and then yeah, a couple of other guys also showed some promise. So yeah, overall pretty happy with the game. Very high scoring game, so I guess I can't complain. At least we gave the Cheetahs a run.
Yeah, like the Sharks team and the Stormers team itself, it's a very young sort of baby buck laden team with a smattering of senior players here and there. Devin Williams starting at fly half, Jean. Wow. Keegan Johannes at 9. I would have liked him to have run out. And then Ndebele transferring to the Sharks with that exchange program for Lund Bokwana at fullback. I've met him in person. He's a baby buck as well. Across the Dylan Smith, senior, sort of starting at loose head prop. Nizam Khan on the bench. Interesting. Komede sort of lost his place in the Bulls team to face the All Blacks to be exchanged for when the Sheriff Albrecht Lowe was made available, which is understandable. Philo Komede, a player who I'd love to get back at the Sharks. He seemed to have bulked up quite a bit and maybe give us a little more of a classic blindside flank as opposed to us just playing eights right now, which is not really working out. JJ Theron starting at 7, mostly a baby buck at lock, but shifted to 7 for senior rugby. And across the Leithers, none of whom is okay with dating his sister Cheetah's team. Xander du Plessis had a good game. Jacob van der Walt started at 10. Unfortunately, no Faf. So they robbed the supporters of seeing Faf. Faf's become like a touring. People are going to the stadium to see Faf and his flowing blonde hair. Look like a god at Currie Cup level. To the point that I wondered, like, could we get him at the Sharks? Victor Sekekete, generally the captain at the Cheetahs, had a good game at number 5 again, running the line out. So we'll look briefly at the log. So at the bottom, it's Jean's Bulls with 4 points, no victories as of yet after playing 5 games. My Sharks somehow won 2 games, rotating the under 21s. Bryce's Stormers 23. How come they get 23 and we only get 50? This seems unfair. With 1 more point. Temikosi's Lions with 13 points, not that far. So it's all URC franchises at the bottom of the log. Then we got Lisa B's Poland, 16 points, 3 wins, 2 losses. Mpumalanga Pumas, 3 wins, 2 losses, 17 points. Leithers, Cheetahs, 4 wins. Interesting, nice bounce back season with the Cheetahs after they almost didn't qualify for the Super Currie Cup Premier Division through the SA Cup by the skin of their teeth, where Francois Steyn was saying, "Oh, we better qualify, otherwise it's going to really hit costings." 4 wins, 1 loss, 21 points, equal with the all-conquering Griquas team, who. Yeah, I'd love to see the Griquas in the Super Rugby at some point. That brings us to the end of the show, ladies and gentlemen.
You forgot one thing.
Yep.
We will have to have an official jersey off. I know the Sharks will lose this because their new jersey is atrocious.
Oh my God! How could they get rid of the shark on the jersey?
The Bulls jersey so far certified banger. Stormers is same as new boss, same as the old boss. So it's all resting on the hands of the Lions. Will they step up and give us a proper jersey? Apparently, the launch is prior to the test against the All Blacks. But we will have to have a jersey off. And so far, I'm pretty confident the Bulls might not win anything in the Currie Cup, but we'll have the prettiest jersey.
I don't know. I wasn't overly impressed by that jersey. But Temikosi, you're very stylish. Were you involved in the design of this new Lions jersey that we're going to see in a few days' time against the All Blacks?
I don't even know, but I can already see that graffiti coming back, and if it's gonna look like that's gonna look horrible. But yeah, the Bulls jersey looks nice, especially the ones that they used against the New Zealand. Is it Pretoria? Like I think it's like yeah. That looks nice. That looks really nice. We'll see.
The only thing it's missing is a gambling sponsor on the front. Wait, no. I don't like. I'm so pleased that I'm not the only person on the Sharks Reddit who are like, why do we have a gambling sponsor on the front? Christy?
I love that graffiti jersey. Okay, that graffiti jersey was my absolute favorite.
From the Lions from last season.
I tried to get it so hard. That's such is life. If you got one lying around, I'll take it off your hands.
Yeah,
Time to come home from London. You're getting used to weird things.
yeah. You talk about the graffiti jersey from last season.
I
From
think
the
it was
Lions,
last
yeah.
season,
Season.
right?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
second, the away jersey, right? Or the
The away
training
jersey,
jersey
yeah.
or something.
If you go to the Alice Box shop, they might still have. When I was there to pick up bus tickets for a tour group, I think I still saw some there. So if you end up in the Joburg area and you go to the Alice Box shop on a normal day, you might get lucky.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to be in the Joburg area, so that sounds like a really good idea to me. I'm gonna pop in there and see what happens. I just want to make one comment and say
Yep.
on the rugby podcast, unfortunately, South Africa is not competing, but it is the World Wheelchair Rugby Championships.
Oh,
They're happening in Brazil at the moment. You can watch it live on the World Wheelchair Rugby YouTube channel. All the games free. In 2023, when I went to the Rugby World Cup in France, they were having these world championships at the same time, and I actually took my dad, and it was one of the most incredible things I've ever seen. These guys are so incredibly powerful, and I don't know if you know very much about wheelchair rugby, but it is called murder ball, and it is a good time. So have a look, check it out if you want to. But I just wanted to mention it because rugby is rugby, and I do love it. So
This has been the best sign off ever because we quietly name dropped that we quiet humble bragged our way past the Rugby World Cup in France 2 years ago, just sliding that into convo, and then we dropped the coolest name in history, Murder Ball.
murder
yeah.
ball.
Why are we not competing? Mark Alexander, what are you doing with your time? On that note, from myself in the mother city, from Jean in the land of the Jacaranda, from Temi Kosi from Aotearoa, and from Christy in the part of North London that Spurs supporters are not allowed to walk in. Until next week, Indrasi, we trust.